John F. Kennedy was a notorious womanizer who was known to have had numerous affairs during his lifetime. Understandably, the majority of these affairs remain shrouded in secrecy. Besides his affair with Marilyn Monroe, another one of his more controversial affairs may have possibly resulted in the death of the other party involved. Join Facts First as we take a look at why some say JFK's mistress, Mary Pinchot Meyer, had to die. Mary and John met as teenagers. Mary Pinchot Meyer met John F. Kennedy at a prep school dance. According to legend, Mary was attending the dance with another boy, and John ended up stealing the young woman away. Mary and John were just teenagers at the time, but the meeting was the beginning of a lifelong friendship for the young woman that some say resulted in her death. Mary was murdered shortly after John was. A year after John F. Kennedy's assassination, Mary Pinchot Meyer was murdered herself. As with John's death, the murder of Meyer remains largely shrouded in mystery. In the case of Mary's death, no one was ever convicted. To this day, there are many who believe the CIA killed Mary to cover up any information she may have been privy to as a result of her friendship and later romantic relationship with John F. Kennedy. Mary Pinchot Meyer was fatally shot in the head in October of 1964. At the time, she was only 43. There were witnesses who claimed to have heard screams at the time of the murder. These witnesses then claimed to have seen an unknown man standing over Mary's body. Later, a man named Ray Crump Jr. was arrested. He was soaking wet and claimed he'd fallen into the Potomac River. Who killed Mary Pinchot Meyer? While authorities believe Ray Crump Jr. was the man responsible, there was no evidence that could pin the crime on him. Ray had no weapon on him and also had no motive. All the evidence that authorities could gather was circumstantial, and Ray ended up being acquitted for the crime of Mary's murder during his trial after pleading not guilty. Authorities never made any official movement in regards to the murder of Mary Pinchot Meyer. To this day, the murder remains unsolved. There are some that believe, or at least claim to believe, that Mary was truly killed by Ray Crump Jr., and he got away with the crime as a result of too little evidence. But there are many more who believe that she was really killed by the CIA. Why would the CIA kill Mary? Those who think Mary Pinchot Meyer was killed by the CIA think the woman knew too much as a result of her close friendship and romantic relationship with JFK. The former started when the two were just teens. Following their meeting in prep school, they were lifelong friends until John's assassination. And at some point, things turned into a full-blown romance. It's unclear when that happened, but perhaps the romance started all the way back at that teenage dance and never ended. The only thing that's clear is the two had certainly become lovers by the time of John's death. There is certainly some weight to the theory that the CIA may have been involved. Her death occurred a week after the release of the Warren Commission, which was the government's official report on the assassination. And there are many people who believe the report doesn't hold up to much scrutiny. Some believe Mary may have held information that could have contradicted the Warren Commission, and perhaps she needed to be silenced for the fraudulent report to have its intended effect. The case of James Jesus Angleton. As a result of Mary's friendship and subsequent romantic relationship, she got to be a fly on the wall at the White House during much of JFK's term. There's also the matter that the chief of counterintelligence for the CIA reportedly broke into Mary's artist studio only several hours after her death to reclaim her diary. When James Jesus Angleton broke into Meyer's studio, Mary's brother-in-law caught him. That was Ben Bradley, and he went on to write about the incident in his autobiography. Released in the 90s, this autobiography served as a revelation for those seeking answers about Mary's unsolved murder. Before we tell you more about Mary Pinchot Meyer's murder, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. What was in the diary? When James Jesus Angleton was caught breaking into the recently deceased Mary Pinchot Meyer's studio to steal her diary, he wasn't successful in his mission. Instead, it was Ben Bradley who found the diary. Ben subsequently read through it, and according to him, the only major revelation afforded to him was that Mary had been JFK's lover. According to James Jesus Angleton, he had wanted to reclaim the diary simply to cover up the fact that she had been involved in an extramarital affair with Kennedy towards the end of his life. Though the diary made an effort to never mention John by name, it documented an affair that Mary had been having with an unnamed and powerful politician. It didn't take much of an effort to figure out who that was. But covering up this affair after John's death seems an unlikely motive for her murder, given how well known the president was for womanizing. Instead, if the CIA covered up their involvement in her murder, it seems more likely they were covering it up for different reasons. After Angleton clarified his intention for finding the diary, Ben Bradley ended up handing the diary over to him. Later, Ben apparently found out James had failed to destroy it, and instead had preserved its contents for unknown reasons. Following this, Ben allegedly managed to finagle the diary back from the chief of counterintelligence. Once the diary was back in Ben's possession, he had his wife burn it. Other clues. If Mary's diary contained any clues about her murder that Ben Bradley may or may not have understood, the world will never know. It's certainly suspicious that James Angleton didn't make good on his promise to destroy the diary like he said he would. But there's much that's suspicious in this tangled narrative. Mary Pinchot Meyer was the daughter of a wealthy socialite family, and she was largely John F. Kennedy's equal. Mary was someone who fit in amongst his peers. Following their initial meeting during their teen years, they remained in the same social sphere. This is what allowed them to carry on their friendship, though there may have been more going on early on between them. Mary graduated from Vassar College in the 40s and married a high-ranking official in the CIA named Cord Meyer. Mary and Cord were neighbors with John and Jackie Kennedy while John was serving as a senator. As neighbors, Mary and John found themselves better friends than ever. It remains uncertain if Mary and John were romantically involved during these days or if their extramarital affair didn't start until John's presidency. The deceitful nature of John F. Kennedy. In addition to the fact that they'd become neighbors, Mary and John's friendship also increased when Mary's sister married Ben Bradley. Ben was an incredibly close friend of JFK's, though the fact that he had no idea about John's extramarital affair with Mary calls into question what else this supposedly close friend didn't know. In his autobiography, Ben claimed he was shocked at how deceitful John F. Kennedy had been. Mary, John, and LSD. In addition to being JFK's lover, Mary Pinchot Meyer also allegedly tried to be a positive influence on the president. According to the late writer Timothy Leary, Mary had sought out advice from him on how to best give the president a positive LSD experience. Mary was allegedly fond of LSD and other mind-altering substances, and believed LSD could have a positive political influence over her lifelong friend. John had apparently reciprocated interest whenever Mary brought LSD up, and it's likely Mary ended up giving the president his promised trip. Now it's time to hear from you. Who do you think is responsible for Mary's unsolved murder? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.